Hello everybody, it's been a while, but it's time for another podcast video type thing here on the All-CAW Wrestling channel. I am the Big Daddy D and I'm joined here today by my own mega powers. First of all, there's the immortal Little Daddy E. And the macho man, Little Natty No. You like that?
Yeah.
Well, focusing that we're still in 1988, it'd be quite fitting here. How's it going then, guys? This is the first sort of podcast we've sort of done together since WrestleMania 31. So, what did you think of WrestleMania 31?
I didn't really like it, to be honest.
Why didn't you like it?
I don't know. I mean, there were some good matches, and then there was some which just, like, it got kind of boring. I really liked the. I don't know. I think I like the pre-show more than anything else, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, the tag team match was good, wasn't it? The Fatal 4-Way tag team match. What do you think? Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank, was that a good idea?
Yeah, that was a good idea. I quite liked that. But I don't know. I just felt like with a lot of the entrances we're doing, it would have been better like an indoorsy, like with Bray Wyatt's.
Yeah, Bray Wyatt and Undertaker's entrance would have been fantastic if the sun had gone down, and same with Sting's as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then what do you think about the Raw after WrestleMania? We got Adrian Neville, who's now part of the main roster, except he's dropped his first name. He's now just called Neville.
Which is why call him Neville?
I'm not too sure.
Adrian.
I'm not too sure. See when Big E Langston came over, they just chopped his name in half and called him Big E. Antonio Cesaro became just Cesaro. Alexander Rusev became just Rusev. And Adrian Neville's just become Neville. So, mind you, this week on Raw, they had him in a match against WWE Champion Seth Rollins, and although Neville lost, he still looked really, really good. It sort of made me think of when John Cena made his debut and he went up against Kurt Angle, and yeah, he lost against Kurt Angle, but straight away it made people sit up and pay attention. It's like, whoa, who's this new guy?
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what comes in. And of course, as always, NXT still remains the best thing that WWE are putting out on a weekly basis there. Fantastic match between Kevin Owens and Finn Balor. Sami Zayn's back as well. He's going to be fighting Rhino this week, so that should be interesting. So what have you been watching on the network recently then, Little Natty now, other than WrestleMania 31? Just NXT, okay. And then what about you, Little Daddy? Have you been watching anything in particular on the network?
No, not really.
Oh dear, is the novelty starting to wear off a bit for you?
I mean, I watch it occasionally.
I did watch Halloween Havoc 1995 just to see the Monster Truck Sumo match between Hogan and the Giant, and then to sort of see the match that took place afterwards, and a guy wrapped in bandages comes out and...
The Yeti!
Yeah, Tony Schiavone's going, the Yeti! Here comes the Yeti!
I think I watched...
And then he gets it ring. Giant's already got Hogan in a bear hug, so the Yeti comes and sort of bear hugs him from behind and does what I can only describe as starts bumming Hulk Hogan. So there's an image for you.
I guess I watched, I think it was Halloween Havoc in 96 maybe, where they had the Doomsday Cage match. Can't remember.
I think that was uncensored. That was uncensored. That was the Doomsday Cage match. Well, it's funny you should mention that because we do get a triple-decker steel cage match in the event that we're going to talk about here today.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Today, well, it's July 10th, 1988, and we're live from the Baltimore Arena in Baltimore, Maryland, for the Great American Bash 1988.
America!
This would actually be the 4th annual Great American Bash produced by Jim Crockett Productions under the National Wrestling Alliance banner, but it's the first one to be broadcast as a live pay-per-view event. This would also be the first time that the NWA would be airing a pay-per-view that wasn't going head-to-head with the WWF. So your hosts for tonight are Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone, who still hasn't shaved that porn star moustache off yet. So, since the last time we caught up with the NWA at the first ever Clash of the Champions television show, a lot has been happening. Lex Luger and Barry Windham had previously defeated the Horsemen for the tag team titles during the Clash on the 27th of March, only to then lose the belts back to the Horsemen on the 23rd of April edition of the World Championship Wrestling TV program when Wyndham turned on Luger and joined the Horsemen. Luger has now continued his rivalry with the Horsemen, which has led to him becoming the #1 contender for Ric Flair's NWA World title. Wyndham, in the meantime, is now feuding with Dusty Rhodes over the NWA United States title. On the 15th of April, Rhodes was stripped of the belt and suspended for 120 days due to accidentally attacking promoter Jim Crockett. Because when you're the booker, you don't lose your belt by jobbing to another wrestler, you lose your belt because the boss in charge stripped you of the title. Way to go there, Big Dust.
Well done, Dusty. Well done.
On the 13th of May, a tournament was held for the vacated title, which was won by Wyndham after defeating Nikita Koloff in the finals. Later, on the second Clash of the Champions show, Miami Mayhem, on the 8th of June, Rhodes and Sting competed against Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard for the NWA World Tag Team Championship. The match resulted in a double disqualification after the referee was attacked, and Flair and Wyndham interfered in the match, with Wyndham attacking Rhodes outside the ring. On the 11th of June edition of World Championship Wrestling, it was announced that Rhodes would challenge Wyndham for the United States title at the Great American Bash. Also at the first Clash of the Champions, the Midnight Express had defended the NWA United States Tag Team titles against the Fantastics. It did seem that the Fantastics had won the match, but the decision was reversed as Bobby Fulton of the Fantastics had chucked the original referee over the top rope. You remember that from the Clash of the Champions. That was probably our favourite match of that particular event. On the May 14th edition of Worldwide Wrestling, the Fantastics got a rematch with the Midnight Express and this time managed to win the titles. On the 11th of June edition of World Championship Wrestling, it was announced that the Fantastics would defend the titles against the Midnight Express at the Great American Bash, and that Jim Cornette would be put into not only a straitjacket, but also locked in a cage as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he couldn't interfere. Nothing like overkill then. And finally, the Road Warriors feud with the Powers of Pain came to an abrupt end after Warlord and Barbarian jumped ship to the WWF. Oops. Ivan Koloff would continue to feud with them, but this time alongside a masked wrestler called the Russian Assassin. He probably wasn't Russian at all.
Nah, most likely.
These two teams were then added to the rivalry that was brewing between Kevin Sullivan's stable, the Varsity Club, and the two brothers Jimmy and Ronnie Garvin, along with Steve Williams.
And this match was going to take place in a Tower of Doom match.
That's right, which is essentially a triple-decker steel cage match. Very much like the Doomsday Cage match that you were talking about from Uncensored 96.
Yay!
The NWA and WCW would love their triple-decker cage matches, and we'll see quite a few of these over the years. And you'll soon realise why the WWF never copied this idea. Because it's a bloody stupid one. So, to start things off, we have the match for the NWA Tag Team titles. It's Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard with J.J. Dillon versus Sting and Nikita Koloff. Sting had failed to wrestle the world title away from the Nature Boy, so he got shunted back down the card a bit to compete for the tag titles, which whatever partner wasn't doing anything else at the time. Sting and Nikita clean house early, and Sting hits Arn on the outside with a top rope dive to a huge pop. This crowd is on fire, popping for virtually everything that Sting does. The babyfaces dominate over Blanchard and work over his arm, but the Horsemen managed to get back in control after Nikita hurts himself on the ring post whilst taking a swing at Dillon and missing. Oh! Arn's pump splash meets Nikita's knees and Sting gets the hot tag. Sting is a house of fire, press slamming Tully and bulldogging Arn. Sting blocks a sunset flip from Tully and gives him a Stinger splash before slapping on the Scorpion Deathlock. Nikita tackles Arn as the bell rings at the 20-minute mark. It looks like we have new tag team champions, but nope, this match has ended on a bullshit time limit draw. NWA love those finishes, don't they?
Fuck's sake. Damn it, Dusty Rhodes.
But guess what? This doesn't get announced until after Sting and Koloff have put the belts on around their waists. Nothing like pissing your fans off, eh? Next up is the match for the United States Tag Team titles. It's weird that they have two sets of tag team titles, don't you think?
Yeah.
I can sort of understand, okay, you've got the world title and you've got the US title, but then to have the same for the tag team division seems a bit odd, but never mind.
That's just weird.
So it's the Fantastics versus the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette, who was in a straitjacket and in a cage. And talk about your disappointments. The Midnights and the Fantastics had a couple of great televised matches on the first Clash of the Champions and on Worldwide Wrestling. But this match, however, is neither of those. Perhaps it was because this third match was being aired on pay-per-view rather than on TV that the NWA decided to completely overbook this one, as Jim Cornette, as mentioned before, is not only forced to be suspended over the ring area inside a cage, he's also been put in a straitjacket as well, just in case he can escape the cage and is okay with jumping down, about 15 feet.
Oh yeah, because he must have like some sort of crazy parachute because he's a heel.
That's it.
He's a heel, therefore he has parachutes.
And that's not all, because if the Fantastics win, they get to whip Cornette 10 times.
It's a bit much.
With their penis.
No, with a leather strap. Definitely not with their penis. That's just a horrible image.
That happens later on.
No, it does not. That's a horrible image. Please stop that.
It'll never leave you.
Thank you. Taking Cornette out of the match altogether was a mistake, as he contributes so much to this rivalry, and to any rivalry that the Midnight Express have. I have to say, though, Cornette's reactions to being put in the straitjacket and then being lifted up are absolutely priceless. He even tries to bribe his way out of it. I would say that Corny's antics at the beginning are actually much better than the full match. Anyway, Bobby Fulton of the Fantastics is dominating over the Midnight Express, having spent a good portion of the match getting double-teamed, until Stan Lane power slams him outside on the concrete. Tommy Rogers accidentally takes out the referee, allowing Lane to pass a chain to Bobby Eaton. Eaton plasters Fulton with it, and the Express win back the titles. After the match, the Fantastics track Corny down and give him the lashes anyway. So everyone ends up happy.
Yay!
Well, apart from Cornette, that is.
Oh.
And so, next up, it's the NWA's/WCW's attempt at creating the next big gimmick match. After someone finally realised how bloody insane, stupid and dangerous it was to do scaffold matches...
I wonder how long it took to figure that out.
Well, after that, we then got the Bunkhouse Stampede match, which was essentially a steel cage battle royal.
Which again didn't make any sense, because why would you climb to the top of a cage?
And now we've got ourselves a triple-decker steel cage match. Or, as it's called here...
The Tower of Doom!
So here we've got Jimmy Garvin, Ron Garvin, Dr. Death Steve Williams, hopefully without a massive throbbing erection this time, and the Road Warriors with Paul Ellering, versus Kevin Sullivan, before he becomes the Taskmaster, Al Perez, the Russian Assassin, Ivan Koloff, and Mike Rotunda, who would later be known as IRS. And he's there with Paul Jones and Gary Hart, no relation to Brett. As mentioned before, both the NWA and WCW would be quite fond of the triple-decker cage idea, and we'd see this quite a few times over the years. Most infamously as the Doomsday cage match that we would later see at
Uncensored 1996.
And we'll come to that in due course.
I really like putting Kevin Sullivan in these matches, don't they?
They certainly do. It's kind of like his thing. It's like Hell in a Cell is like Undertaker's thing. And that wasn't all. The triple-decker steel cage match would also be featured in that bloody awful WCW movie, Ready to Rumble.
What?
Yeah, don't ask. And the Tower of Doom also made an appearance in Nitro in late 2000 when Vince Russo won the WCW World Heavyweight title.
What?
So yeah, this type of match doesn't exactly have a great history.
Damn it, Russo.
But basically, they are 3 cages stacked on top of one another, each cage getting smaller as they go up. The idea is that everyone starts in the top cage, 2 men start the match, and every few minutes the cage opens for a teammate for each side to join in, as well as special trapdoors that allow wrestlers access to the lower levels. The first team to have all its members escape from the bottom cage will win the match, and the exit to the bottom cage is padlocked shut with Garvin's wife, Precious, holding the key. Why Precious? Well, Kevin Sullivan was an evil bastard who hypnotised her into becoming, I don't know, one of his sex slaves or something?
Ew.
It's not exactly explained clearly, but she's dressed all in black, so she may or may not be evil.
Black therefore equals evil.
Exactly. Anyway, the problem with these matches is that there's no room for a camera crew to be in there. So anything in this match is filmed from a distance, and it's hard to tell what's going on.
Yep.
Secondly, because the floor of the two top cages are a steel mesh, you aren't going to see a lot of wrestling going on. So the majority of all that anyone can do in there is throw punches and throw talcum powder in each other's faces.
Wait, what?
There may or may not be cocaine.
I'm sure if it was... Well, it was the 80s.
With the drugs policy back then, probably.
Yeah, it was the 80s. It might have been. You never know. Anyway, after a while, everyone is out of the cage except for Sullivan and Jimmy Garvin. Precious is rooting for someone, but we don't know who it is. Garvin drops Sullivan with a brainbuster and asks for the key. Precious hesitates and then unlocks it for him. Sullivan makes one final dive, which accidentally knocks Garvin to the floor for the win at the 21-minute mark. Oh! The aftermath of this match is actually more exciting than the match itself, as Sullivan locks himself in the cage with Precious and attacks her. "Sullivan is deranged!" screams Jim Ross on commentary.
He's trying to take the clothes off.
Whoa, calm down there, JR.
I think he's putting up his fan fiction in real life.
Sullivan tries to strangle Precious, screaming that if he can't have her, no one can.
Ew.
Finally, Jimmy Garvin and Road Warrior Hawk are able to climb all the way back up and drop back down through the cages, where Hawk blasts Sullivan with a huge flying clothesline to a massive pop from the crowd.
Seriously, who's Sullivan think he is? Judge Frollo?
Who's that?
You know, Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Oh, right. I've not seen that.
Nah.
That's a Disney movie I've not seen.
Nah.
Yeah, we're bringing Disney into professional wrestling here.
I didn't really like it, but it was like one song in it that's really good.
Oh, what song's that?
I can't remember.
Are you going to sing it for us?
No.
Let it go, let it go. No,
that's not off Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's off Frozen.
Can't remember the name.
Oh, speaking of which, should we have Elsa from Frozen as part of the Amazon League on All-CAW Wrestling?
Yeah.
Leave comments. Do you want to see Elsa getting her face kicked in, basically?
Anyway, wrestling.
Yeah, back to NWA WCW. So not exactly a lot of wrestling went on in this Tower of Doom, Doomsday, cage match, whatever. But the Sullivan, Garvin, Precious stuff was certainly trashily entertaining, at least. So next up, it's the match for the NWA United States title. It's Barry Windham with J.J. Dillon versus Dusty Rhodes. Rhodes was the champion until he accidentally hit Crockett with a baseball bat, as you do, and was stripped of the title and suspended, because when you're the booker, you don't job to anyone. And people have a go at Shawn Michaels during the mid-90s. During the finish, Windham decides to use his new submission finisher, the Claw.
The Claw.
The Claw.
The Claw.
Nothing can stop the Claw. Because nothing will put another man out faster than massaging his temples with your fingers.
Especially if you're wearing a black glove, which somehow makes it stronger.
Oh yes, wearing the black glove somehow makes the Claw more stronger. The Claw! The Claw! Nothing can stop the Claw!
What the fuck?
It's not more stronger. It's just stronger.
It's just stronger. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me there.
Yes.
Bit of wrestle grammar there from Little Daddy E. Dusty spends about 5 minutes fighting this move off. Literally, he's got him in the claw and he's fighting it off for about 5 minutes. At one point, elbowing his way out of it and going for the figure 4, only to get the claw! Again, because his head was left exposed.
Dusty shoves Windham into the referee and goes for the big fat bionic elbow of death. But there's no referee to make the count. Dillon tries to sneak in, but Dusty chases him off. Dusty's friend, Ronnie Garvin, then runs down and punches Rhodes out for a grade A heel turn.
That's
Just
right.
punches him in his fat fucking face.
Yes, that is correct. Windham then slaps the claw on yet again as the referee recovers and makes the free count. Windham pretty much carried the entire match and did a lot of bumping around for Dusty. Dusty's physical limitations actually dragged the match down a fair old bit, to be honest. The Garvin heel turn would be a total shocker, mainly because it was completely out of the blue and didn't make a right lot of sense. Although we would later see Garvin afterwards accepting a big briefcase full of money from Dillon and Gary Hart. And finally, it's time for the main event. It's for the NWA World Heavyweight title. It's Ric Flair with J.J. Dillon versus Lex Luger, the total package.
Oh my.
Flair starts off by throwing everything he has at the younger and stronger Luger, who has a fantastic world-class blonde mullet.
Amazing.
We see some lovely mullets in this particular period of wrestling.
If you want to travel back in time, just watch for WWE Network and they'll fit in perfectly.
Oh, yes.
Because mullets.
Luger's response to all this offence is to completely no-sell that shit and readjust his pants in response.
Oh no, his pants are readjusted. We're doomed.
Luger press slams Flair twice and locks in a bear hug. Flair returns to the outside and rakes Luger's eyes to take control. Back inside, Flair works over Luger's ribs. Luger gets 2 off a clothesline and crotches Flair's balls on the top rope.
Ow.
Oh god.
He misses a drop kick. Amazing to see him do a drop kick, to be honest with you. And Flair gets a breather. Flair clips Luger's leg and applies the figure 4. But Lex manages to turn it over.
I don't know what hurts more, the fact that Flair got crotched on the top rope, or that I'm now imagining Flair's balls. Ah!
Woo!
I'll have to go bleach my brains.
A clothesline takes Flair over the top rope to the floor. But it's okay, as it's from Flair's momentum. So yeah, he went over the top rope, but it's okay, the match continues, it's from Flair's momentum. You know, you don't want to screw the fans over with a stupid finish like that. Right, NWA?
Dusty Russ.
Luger catches Flair on top and slams him to the mat. A backslide gets 2 and they both go over the top, but the match continues, thank God. Flair and Dillon then take it in turns to ram Luger's head into the ring post, eventually busting him open.
Cue ominous music! Wham! Cue Inception, wham.
Back in the ring, Luger power slams Flair, readjusts his pants, and goes for the torture rack. The bell rings and the crowd go absolutely fucking wild, as it looks like Luger has defeated Flair via submission to become the World Heavyweight Champion. But sadly, that is not the case.
Fuck you, time limit.
No, it wasn't the time limit. Oh no, even worse. You see, Baltimore was on this big anti-blood in pro wrestling stance at the time. So in order to run it into their face, the NWA thought it'd be a really good idea to have an ending where the popular Luger would get busted open and the frumpy old State Athletic Commission would interrupt and stop the match for blood loss, handing the title back to Flair on the screwiest of screw jobs.
Really?
Really.
Really?
And that's a real shame because this was a fairly good match until that point. When the crowd hears the announcement, they are, to say the least, none too thrilled. I don't blame them. I've cut myself open bigger than that while shaving. The match has obtained a kind of infamy as a classic example of the type of stupidity the NWA engaged in during the late 80s.
No wonder they were losing money to Vince.
In summary, this was a decent enough show, but the strange booking and match decisions spoilt it quite a bit. The Road Warriors should have been in their own match. The Jimmy Garvin versus Kevin Sullivan thing should have been its own match. The Tower of Doom idea was stupid. The Midnight Express versus the Fantastics match was the best match of the night, but their match at Clash of the Champions was still better. To be honest, everything at Clash of the Champions pretty much blew the Great American Bash out of the water in terms of the matches. Also, Sting and Koloff should have won the tag team titles and Luger should have won the world title. It's ridiculous that those matches had such bullshit finishes, especially when you consider how popular those babyface guys are. I mean, just listen to the crowd. When the crowd thought that Sting and Koloff had won the belts, they went bananas. When the crowd thought that Luger had won the belt, they went bananas, you know. And then when the match decision got sort of turned round, they were chanting bullshit. And that's quite unusual for late 80s wrestling.
Someone flipped the bird at Jim Ross while I was commentating afterwards.
Oh, yes, I saw that. Yes, someone in the audience.
Seriously, it was stood in front of a crowd of people, with a load of people behind him, with a load of people going, no, fuck you.
Yeah, they were giving like the middle finger to poor old Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone. Schiavone stood there with his porn star tash, and those microphones that were holding were quite phallic looking as well, so it just made the whole thing look even more dodgy, didn't it? Seriously, Schiavone, shave the tash off, mate. I mean, come on, what's wrong with giving the fans what they want? A few changes to the booking and this would have been a much better show. It would still turn out to be another successful show for Crockett, although he would soon find himself selling the company over to Ted Turner before the end of the year. So, let's wrap this thing up. I mean, I've already said what I thought the best match of the night was. It was the Midnight Express versus the Fantastics. Having said that, their match at Clash of the Champions was still better than this. What about for you, Little Daddy? What do you think was your favourite match of the night?
I'd say it was probably going to be the Flair, with Flair.
The Flair Luger match.
Yeah, the Flair Luger match. Like, if you took out the ending, it'd be really good. It'd be a lot better.
So, see, the match was good up until the ending. Okay,
much.
that's fair enough. Little Natty New, what do you think was the best match of the night?
I'd have to agree with you, to be honest.
In terms of what, the Midnight Express versus the Fantastics?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, fair enough. Okay, so that is it for another podcast video type thing from us here at the All-CAW Wrestling. Next up, we'll be hopping back over to the WWF for SummerSlam 88. It's the Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks. So until then, I'm the Big Daddy D.
And I am the Claw! I mean, Little Daddy A. Little Daddy A.
The Claw!
The Claw!
And
I didn't really say anything.
you're the Little Natty New.
Big fat dusty roads.
Yeah, and we're signing out for another episode of All-CAW Wrestling.
I'm
the Claw!
I'm the fat fucking elbow.
Nothing can stop